Hello everyone. I just wanted to do a video that shows a decorative rod wrap technique that I came up with to kind of mimic an old rod that I was rebuilding. It used a spiral wrap thread, but when you do the whole wrap in a thread like that, it really gets busy and there's a lot of zigzaggy lines everywhere. But I wanted to do something to incorporate that look into the rod that I was rebuilding for a giveaway. If you haven't seen that video series, I'll put a link to the playlist. It was a vintage rod and reel that I was rebuilding, and I gave it away to a subscriber, and I think he was happy with it, and I was pretty happy with the way it turned out. I've gotten better with my building techniques, and as a lot of y'all know, I've designed and I've started selling rod wrapping jigs through eBay, and it really makes doing these kind of wraps a lot easier. So I really wanted to do an updated video and show the technique, because honestly that series I did not get a lot of views, and I think this is kind of a neat technique, so I wanted to share it with everyone. So let's take a look at how you do this. All right, just to start out, I'm just taping down a piece of thread that I plan to use for doing the spiral part of the wrap, and I'm just taping it from end to end down the rod, and the piece I'm using is about 18 inches or so. You'll want to use whatever length you think you might need to do this wrap with. I'm going to get this wrap started just by wrapping over the top and locking down the beginnings of my main color of my wrap. I'm going to wrap it right over the top of the piece that I'm going to be using for the spiral wrap part. I'm just taping down the end of the main thread and wrapping back over the top of itself. And I'll put several turns on this until I get the main color locked in. And then I'll remove the tape from the main color and trim the tag of that and wrap over the top of the tag. And once I've got the main color locked down really well, I'm going to go ahead and remove the tape from the trim piece. And then I'm going to pull the tag end of the trim piece under the main color of the wrap. Now all I'm going to do is wrap the trim piece behind the main color and pull it back around to my left. And now at this point, all we're going to do is wrap the trim color around the main color and try to lay down a consistent pattern on the blank. And although I'd say this is an easy decorative wrap to do, this part can be a little tricky until you get the hang of it. The rod wrappers I sell are really nice. You can back them up several turns. You can take your hands completely off your thread, off of your rod blank. Whatever you need to do, you can have your hands freed up a lot just because of the way I design my wrapper. It's so easy to use. Even I can build rods with it and do a good job. If you don't have a good rod wrapper, click on the link up in the top right hand corner of this video. It'll take you to my video that shows the rod wrapper. They really work well. I've had nothing but positive feedback. I have not heard one negative comment about it at all. I'd highly encourage you to take a look if you're not happy with your current wrapper, or if you're just getting started and looking at possible wrappers to buy. If you're doing hand wraps, this is a great tool, and it's a lot better than a lot of the commercially available products out there. As you're continuing to wrap your trim thread around your main color thread, you may have to occasionally adjust the position so that it lines up with the thread you've already laid down before. You might need to back your wrap up just a little, or tighten your trim thread just a little bit around the main color, or loosen it just a little around the main color in order to get these spiral wraps to kind of line up with each other in a little bit of a pattern. The technique is easy enough, but actually mastering it or getting really good at laying down a consistent pattern would be the difficult part. I'm not that great at it, but I can kind of do it enough to where it makes a decent looking wrap. The more you practice it, I'm sure the better you'll get at it. And that's really all there is to it. You just continue your wrap, adjusting your spirals to where they kind of correspond with the ones that came before them. And it'll kind of lay out an overall spiral pattern on the blank itself. Like I said, it's a real easy technique to learn, maybe a little bit more difficult to master. But even my first try at it, I got a pretty decent looking wrap on the original rod that I did it on. And I'm sure if I practiced it more, I would get better at it. It's just like anything else. Rod building is no different. The more you practice, the better you get. The rods I build today are a lot better than the ones I did last year at this time. So it's a evolving thing. And honestly, I'm better at designing and building contraptions like the rod wrapping jig than I am more artistic work like rod building and doing decorative wraps. I enjoy doing it, but what I'm truly good at is designing and building things with my hands. I can lay out a rod, I can get everything, all the guides laid out perfectly and stuff, but the artistic side of it, I'm not an artist, I guess is what I'm saying. So I'm sure some of you guys will be able to use this technique a lot better than I can, but it's something I just want to throw out there and show everybody. So I'm going to speed this video up through the remainder of doing these spiral wraps until we get to the part where I'm going to go ahead and finish the wrap off. Now I've reached the part where I want to stop this spiral wrapping pattern. So all I'm going to do is put my main color thread over where I want the spiral wrap to finish. And I'm going to pull the thread that I've been using to wrap my spirals to the right and tape it to the rod blank. And now I'm going to wrap over the top of my spiral trim thread a few turns. Then I'm going to remove the tape from the trim thread and trim it off. And then continue wrapping to cover the tag you just trimmed and to insert your pull-through loop. Wrap over your pull-through loop as many turns as you think you need to put on it. Then you'll trim a tag in on the main color you're using. Insert it through the pull loop, trim it, and pull it through. And that's all there is to it. That's a spiral wrap. You could use it as a trim wrap. You could use it on a guide if you wanted to, or you could use a shorter pattern for a trim band for a guide also. But more often than not, you'd see a wrap like this as a decorative wrap down towards the butt section above the handle or something along those lines. And it makes an interesting pattern. It's unusual, it's kind of unique, and it's kind of old school looking too. So I like it. I hope you like it. And until next time, y'all take care. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. I do a lot of rod building, vintage reels, all kinds of stuff. Got tips, DIY stuff. So check it out if you like fishing content. I look forward to talking to y'all later.